Let's go and move with life. Let it go. Something new tonight. Let's go and move with life. Let it go. Something new tonight.
All right, g'day guys, back for another hit out. And when I say another hit out, I mean the only hit out of 2025. I had to have a look before I started recording this. The last time I'd done one was December 8th, 2024. So here we are back for another one, guys. There was so much Australian action going on this recent week, or not even a week, the last 5 or 6 days, that I thought I just wanted to jump on and get another one in before the end of the year. I was looking at doing another episode with a guest before the end of the year, but it's very difficult in December, as you guys probably know with yourselves, work commitments, family commitments. You know, you want to be doing better things than talking to some bloke on the internet about boxing. Well, I don't. That's what I love doing. But, you know, people have lives. Normal people have lives. We are not normal people. So, more on what we're going to be doing next year later in the hit out, guys. But it's been so long since I've done one of these. I think I'm just going to have to start talking about the fights and see how we go. So let's get into it. So from a couple of days ago, guys, we had the return of Tszyu, who ended up scoring a unanimous decision over 10 rounds over Anthony Velasquez. So I've seen a lot of conflicting opinions about this fight. A lot of people sort of noticed different things, have made comments negative and positively about Tim's performance. And with all due respect to Anthony Velasquez, he flew to the other side of the world and got in with a guy that he really shouldn't have been in the ring with, and that showed within the first 30 seconds, I thought. The difference in class, I thought, was pretty stark from the jump. I'm sure Anthony Velasquez is going to be better for this going forward. But for the purposes of this, we're an Aussie-based pod. I'm biased as hell, so we're just going to talk about Tim, obviously. So to my eye, guys, and I may be in the minority here, I really didn't see a lot of any difference in Tim at all, stylistically. I mean, the massive, big difference, which was obvious real early, is that he was taking absolutely zero risks, which is exactly what he needed to do. Take no risks. You've, come off 2 years where, respectfully, you kind of been flogged and KO'd a few times. And the reason he was getting caught was because he was getting reckless. So I really wanted to see the buttoned in, dialed down version of Tim, box first, which for the most part I thought we saw. Now, sort of in terms of his style, there's been a lot of commentary out there that teaming up with Pedro Diaz only 8 weeks ago, it takes a lot longer than 8 weeks to implement a different direction in his style, a different strategy, different punch combinations, different upper body positioning, different hand positioning, all those type of things, even if they do want to go in that direction. So I wasn't really expecting to see any of that, and I don't think we really did. But yeah, like I was saying in summary, the main thing that I took away from that was clear these guys didn't want to take any risks and get caught with anything silly, which is totally fair enough. They wanted to get the rounds in. They wanted to get rounds in working together for the first time. I didn't even know this. Pedro Diaz apparently barely speaks English. Add another wrinkle to the intrigue of this fight going in. I didn't even realize that until he got here on the Tuesday, the day before, that maybe he speaks broken English in the corner and it's easy to understand or easier to understand. I really don't know. But, add in another wrinkle of another question mark. This fight had a lot of question marks. All Tim's fights have a ton of question marks. And that was another one. So I think ultimately going the 10 rounds is going to be great for Tim. I think it's going to be great for the coach and fighter relationship moving forward. That's valuable rounds. That's valuable time spent together. Look, was Tim under pressure at any point? I personally didn't think so. Velasquez bombed maybe 4 or 5 huge bolo right hands that Tim was sort of easily able to see coming and really had no massive effect on him. Now, there is some commentary out there of people that said they didn't really like the way Tim reacted to those punches, to the big shots. For me personally, I don't want to out those people that have given me those opinions. I don't think they've said them publicly, but they are out there. Personally, I didn't see it. Not to say that they're not correct and they didn't notice something that could be a concern moving forward. Personally, I didn't see it, but it certainly planted the thought in my mind that that's something, if other people have noticed it, people whose opinions I respect, it's definitely something to keep a bit keener of an eye on moving forward, especially presumably as the competition's going to step up from here. So what next for Tim Tszyu, guys? I mean, this was obviously a step down in class quite significantly. Anthony Velasquez was totally unproven at that level, and he's going to return to a couple of levels below after this fight. I mean, I don't think he won a round. That's fair to say. So what next for Tim? I would like to see sort of the slow build, and seeing comments from Mike Altamura, friend of the show, mate of the show, shout out to Mike. May even have him back on next year. We'll see how we go. But sort of picking up on what he's putting down from his public comments, it seems to be that they want to take this build a little slower than maybe Tim would. Well, that was my read. I know there's talk of Xander Zayas out there. But my interpretation of what Mike said, and I've only spoken to him twice. I'm not saying both times on the pod. I haven't spoken to him offline or anything like that. But my interpretation from what he's saying, the way I would sort of interpret it is, look, Tim's got a big name. He's still a massively valuable commodity internationally. And there are offers out there for him to get back to the top rather quickly. But I think Mike might take it a little bit slower. Another 2 or 3 fights outside of the top 10, I would like to see. Definitely want to see someone who's going to put more pressure on Tim than Anthony Velasquez was able to do. But all in all, I thought it was a rather good hit out. Pardon the pun. I really had no issues with it. When the opponent was announced, I had never heard of Anthony Velasquez. I had to look him up on BoxRec, watched his most recent fight in full, and then a few highlights of fights before that. I hadn't really recognized anyone on his record, but after actually seeing him for a few rounds and a few highlights here and there, I was like, yeah, okay, this is the type of step down a fighter needs when he's come up short at the top level multiple times, and in fights that can be like physically damaging long term. Like Tim didn't just lose on points and a couple of split decisions. Like he got hurt, he got knocked out, he was getting rocked, he got knocked down. These are hard things to come back from. So yeah, I had absolutely no issue with the opponent. I thought the rest of this card was really, really intriguing on paper. I broke my rule. God, man, I'm kicking myself. I don't know. Do I regret it? Kind of, but whatever. I really wanted to see these fights because they were so intriguing. I bought this pay-per-view. Well, I think it was the first one I'd bought this year. I broke my stance. I put my money down on something that wasn't worth it, but I was just sick of missing the fights. I really wanted to watch this card, but more on that pay-per-view later. But yeah, I thought Tim looked good, solid, not spectacular, a good bounce-back fight. We've seen it many, many times before with high-profile guys. I had absolutely no issue with the matchmaking whatsoever, and Tim is on to bigger and better things moving forward. We'll see how he goes. Now, guys, in the co-main event, the Ghost, Sam Goodman, was back after his very close loss to Nick Ball a couple of months earlier, where he picked up a unanimous decision over 10 rounds over Tyler Blizzard, which was a pretty big step up for Blizzard. Only in the days leading up to the fight, the news, well, not news, but the recent history between them was made public that Blizzard had picked up a win over Sam Goodman in the amateurs. I didn't know about it. I mean, they're both similar weights. They both had long amateur careers. I should have put 2 and 2 together that they'd most likely crossed paths before, but yeah, my sort of attention was focused on the pros like it always is. So yeah, I guess that was an interesting wrinkle. I mean, it didn't really add to the intrigue for me. All the intrigue for me was about, and there's certainly intrigue with Tyler Blizzard taking this massive step up quite early in his pro career, but the intrigue for me was to see how Sam bounced back. And I thought Sam looked really good. This fight was 2 counterpunchers who like to move fighting against each other. That never really spells, well, it basically essentially never spells excitement. So I wasn't going into this fight thinking it was going to be a barn burner, but I just wanted to see what version of Sam we got, if there were any stylistic changes, anything like that. I was pretty confident Blizzard was going to be standing on the back foot doing his thing that he normally does, that he's most comfortable doing. But I really wanted to see what Sam would do. And he was much more aggressive with that forward motion off the front foot, which, if you're 2 counterpunchers, one of them has to change it up and go forward. Otherwise, we're going to be doing nothing. We're going to be both getting disqualified for such little activity. So Sam took it upon himself to move forward and create the action. Now, in doing so, I've spoken about it probably for the last year and a half, 2 years. Sam does carry his chin high, and he always has. It was exposed a little bit in that Nick Ball fight, especially late once Sam's legs and his feet and his movement and his ability to change the range was sort of bouncing in and out, slowed down a little bit in those championship rounds. That not that Sam was ever rocked, but the chin's there. You're giving your opponent a target, and when Sam's footwork is taken away from him, that's his natural defense. So the chin can get caught easier. I loved it immediately. It looked to me like Sam was tucking the chin much more. I think they'd identified that had been a problem and Sam fixed it. But the thing that I also noticed is he'd squared up a hell of a lot more. And that's probably because he was pushing forward so much. So I do give him a bit of a pass on that. But geez, his elbows were wide. It was almost like his chin and his elbows are like on a hinge. So if his chin's high, the elbows are down. And as his chin lowers, he comes out like chicken wings. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like when guys bow and arrow. You know, when they throw the jab and the right hand comes away, it's sort of just like that natural bow and arrow reaction. Well, Sam's kind of got that thing with his chin. If his chin's high, his elbows are in, and then the lower his chin gets, the more his elbows come out. So I thought that was a little bit of concern, especially if he wants to be more on the front foot moving forward. That could possibly be an issue, just that elbow placement and his openness up the middle through the body. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on moving forward. But as for Blizzard, I thought he put a really good account of himself forward. Just for him, I guess tactically, I mean, and who am I to talk about a pro fighter's tactics? But just seemed to me that he just got stuck countering too much. You know, there was rarely any time where he initiated any action, where he took the onus on himself to create something. He constantly stayed on the back foot and waited for opportunities to come. And, you know, in sport, in life, in business, in anything, if you sit back and wait for things to come, I mean, you know, good luck. Sometimes you got to make things happen, you know, and I thought Sam did such a better job of that all throughout the fight. I thought he looked pretty good. I'm excited to see what's next for Sam. I mean, I'm sure No Limit are going to build him back up. He's staying at featherweight permanently now, it would seem, which I like the move for him there. As we know, he's fought as high as lightweight recently after COVID, so I don't think the weight's going to be an issue for him at all. He didn't look small. Sam's never been a big puncher, even at super bantamweight, so I don't expect him to start knocking blokes out at 126, but I think we're going to see a really good building year for Sam next year. He loves being busy. I think we'll probably get one or two, and if he can get the wins, and I'm sure No Limit are going to bring over good opponents for him, I expect to see him sort of knocking on world level door by the end of next year for sure. Now, how does he go against those title holders in those divisions, in that division in particular, that remains to be seen, but I think we're going to learn a lot about Sam at featherweight. I mean, like he gave Nick Ball all he can handle. You know, Vargas is a tough matchup for anyone with his height. So we shall see, but looking forward to seeing more evolution from the Ghost moving forward next year. Guys, now the star of the show, I thought, Callum Peters with a TKO in 6 rounds over Cody Beekin. My God. I need to drink some water here. This was unbelievable. I don't know what you guys thought, man, but God, Callum Peters, he looks so crude. You know, he doesn't look like he's the most polished guy, but I've said this before, but he has what you can't teach. You know, you can teach defensive responsibility. You can teach defensive hand positioning. You can implement strategies and get better at following game plans specific to certain opponents. All those things can be taught with a great team and a great coach and all that type of stuff. What you can't teach, you cannot teach someone to walk across the ring and just knuckle some bloke up in the face without a care in the world. You can't teach that. And Callum Peters has that in spades, man. This kid, unbelievable, zero fear. Now, is that dangerous? Absolutely. Does he need to, if he can get to where we want him to go to, and I'm sure what his goals are, world level, can he fight somewhat recklessly the way that he has been so far in his short pro career? No. Does he have to button it in a little bit more and get tidier and more defensively responsible? Absolutely. I think those things will come throughout his career. But, man, he is just so exciting. And shout out to Cody Beekin. When this fight was announced, I'm sure I'm not alone. Everyone watching or listening this would be in the same boat. We want to see Callum Peters do rounds. We want to see him in with a guy who can push him and see how Callum Peters' tank holds up after 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds under the bright lights and, on Foxtel with the whole country or the whole boxing community watching, There's even international intrigue from Callum Peters, from his great run in the Commonwealth Games and how he got robbed in the Olympics against Oralbay. But let's not go on a rant about that again. But, God, I thought he won that fight. But, so shout out to Cody Beekin. Tough as nails, man. But the way Callum Peters tore through him really was so impressive. And when I was watching it, it sort of dawned on me. Callum Peters has like the relentlessness of a Jeff Fennick. And he's always reminded me of David Benavidez, being really tall, a little square. He stands in front of people. He throws combinations. And same as Benavidez. David Benavidez doesn't look slick. He doesn't look like that, like a classic Floyd Mayweather, smooth on his feet. He's a little bit clunky. He's a bit herky-jerky, unbelievably effective, don't get me wrong, but it's just not as an aesthetically stereotypical, smooth-looking, boxer that slips and rolls and all that sort of stuff. They're much more in your face, but still bringing their own technical advantages to the floor. And man, I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong, someone, but I reckon Callum Peters, like if David Benavidez and Jeff Fennick had a love child, it would be Callum Peters. Man, so impressive. Again, doesn't seem to be a huge puncher at the weight, but he's so young. I think that might come. It also might come up a couple of weight classes once he really grows into his body and develops that man strength. But Callum Peters, I thought he stole the show. All right, guys, I better quicken this up. Otherwise, we're going to be here for like 40 minutes. So got to jump into Koa Mazoudier with a split decision over 10 rounds over Dominic Molinaro. And it was a massive step up for Dominic Molinaro. His first fight at super welterweight too, going down in weight for the Australian super welterweight title. Man, this was probably the fight of the night. Absolute banger of a fight. Both guys were tough as hell. Look, was it a little sloppy at times? Absolutely. But they made up for that with just courage and heart and determination and all those great things that we love to see. I had no issue with the scoring, guys. I thought they got it right. I thought Mazoudier pulled away late, probably from sort of 6, 7, 8 onwards. It was really close early. I had Molinaro up early, but I thought that just the championship experience and like Mazoudier's been in wars. Like this isn't his first time in the trenches, and I just thought that experience showed. Dominic Molinaro, let me look him up. I believe he only had a handful of fights going into this fight. Dominic Molinaro. Hang on, guys. What will we do without BoxRec? There we go. Wow. That was only his 6th fight. That is insane. It was his 6th fight, and he's already won 2. Well, he won an Australian title, fighting for his 2nd Australian title, and against a proven warrior who has been in wars, who's had... What was that? That was Mazoudier's 19th fight. Wow, that's even more impressive. I knew that Molinaro was relatively inexperienced. I didn't realize it was that much. Excuse me. Wow, what a performance. That's one of those ones where, it looked to me, I don't know, when you see guys get that little swelling like right on that particular part of the eye, I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a broken eye socket or something, fractured orbital or something like that. He was really wearing that damage late, but full credit to Dominic Molinaro, did not take a backward step. Sensational performance by him, a great learning experience for him too. I think he's going to be back bigger and better. And just to close off that main card, guys, the return of Paulo Aukuso, who picked up a 6-round unanimous decision win over Shukrat Abdullaev. So, guys, I think I said it on the last pod. It made no sense to me at all why Paulo Aukuso left No Limit. I will pot No Limit every single time they deserve it, and I'm about to get to it, don't worry. But I thought they were doing an absolutely flawless job with Paulo Aukuso. I couldn't believe that he wasn't happy with his career progression, mate, they got him that Unieski Gonzalez fight. He was fighting on the biggest platform in the country. His opponents sort of, when available, seemed to be rising at a pretty strong rate. He seemed to be flourishing and improving with every fight. I really didn't understand, and obviously he's the only one that's in his own head, but I didn't understand sort of the frustration. Obviously there's more to it than meets the eye, but they seem like a match made in heaven, to be honest. So from purely just from an outsider looking in for that reason. I was thrilled that he was that he's linked back up with them again. He's going to be fighting more regularly, presumably, on a bigger platform that's easier for us to watch. These are all positives in my book. But this fight, guys, Paulo hadn't been in the ring for, I think, just over a year. And Abdullaev was pretty good. These Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, these guys, huge amateur backgrounds. They're always pretty tidy, good fundamentals, all those type of things. I couldn't find any footage on him at all, but just based off previous fighters from that area of the world with limited pro experience, I was expecting him to be pretty tidy, which he was. But, man, it was like instant, the levels was instantly clear. Again, similar to Tim, it looked to me like the game plan here was Aukuso 100% could have put his foot on the pedal a bit more and most likely got this guy out of there, with all due respect. It seems to me like they didn't want to. It seemed to me like the plan was much like it was for Tim. Okay, let's get some rounds here. Let's have a big next 2026 next year. Let's just get some rounds here, get our feet wet, get back into the swing of things and see how we go. That's what it looks like to me. And there is that problem, and it kind of happened with Tim a little bit too late. When you're holding yourself back a little bit, your defensive responsibility does lapse. And it sort of looked a little bit like that around the fourth and the fifth, where Aukuso was, respectfully probably only performing at 50, 60% of his full potential. And Abdullaev was landing some shots. Like, all credit to Abdullaev. You got to take whatever opportunity your opponent gives you. And if your opponent's going to take his foot off the pedal and coast a little bit, I mean, that's your time. That's your opening to start forcing something and making it happen and turn the tide of this fight. And I thought Abdullaev certainly tried to do that. But, Aukuso just kicked it back into that next gear a little bit and won rather comfortably. But, God, I've been calling for it forever. What feels like forever. Mate of the show, mate of the pod, Brendan Bradford's been calling it forever. Every Australian boxing fan's been calling it forever. Paulo Aukuso, Conor Wallace. That is such a good fight. God, I wish that would happen. Now, guys, congratulations to Paulo on a great comeback, though. So, guys, all in all, there really wasn't... Oh, look, there were good fights. It was a good card. I mean, like I said, I bought it. I've been boycotting No Limit just purely out of spite because I disagree with the whole pay-per-view thing so vehemently. I think it's bad for the sport. Not only am I just being a tight ass, I'll put my hand up, absolutely, I'm being a tight ass, but it's bad for the sport. It's bad for the fighters. Like... You don't grow something by putting it behind a paywall. The way you grow something is by putting it in front of the most eyeballs you possibly can. And that's not asking people to pay $60 or $70 on a Wednesday night when you got to work, Like, the main event happened too late. I had like tears coming out of my eyes. I got to get up at like 5 o'clock for work the next day. It's just ridiculous. But, the thing that I found really egregious, truly, like, anyone who's watched the sport knows what this card was. It was built around a clear bounce back fight for a guy that's going down multiple levels. Now, I totally understand the argument that if it's the best of the best and it's world titles and it's as elite as it gets, that's pay-per-view. I get it. I still think it hurts the fighters. It hurts their potential for sponsors. It hurts their media coverage. It hurts everything. It hurts the sport. If you're paying for something, if you're asking people to pay something for a product, you're going to get less people. You'll get more money, presumably, but you'll get less sponsors and less high profile sponsors for less money. Like, if someone asked you or I to the people out there to give them $1,000 because your business or whatever you're promoting is going to get 5,000 eyeballs on it, you go, okay. All right, no worries. But if they said, but in a couple of weeks, we're going to do this other event that's going to get 20,000 eyeballs on it, but you got to give us $5,000. Mate, I am a business owner. I'd go the $5,000 for the more eyeballs. That's where I would invest my money. Am I a small business operator? Absolutely. Is it totally different when you're talking way more zeros, commas and zeros? 100%. But I imagine the principle remains the same. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. So, yeah, but the thing that annoyed me so badly. Now, No Limit have told us under a veil that every single thing anyone with the last name Tszyu does from here on out, we are going to be paying money to watch it. It doesn't matter if they have a world title, if they lose a world title, if they get knocked out, if they get knocked out multiple times, what their level of opponent is completely irrelevant. From now on, like Nikita Tszyu being on pay-per-view is an absolute freaking joke. But from whatever these guys do, mundane green style, from now till when they hang him up, we're paying money for. And in my opinion, that's not okay, and it hurts everyone. I mean, God, like, I'm from Victoria. I'm a footy fan. I love Jonathan Brown. Courageous as hell. Footy player. Funny. He was on the radio down here in Melbourne. He's a funny guy. He's a larrikin. Mate, what the hell does this guy know about boxing? And that's fine. Okay, he gets to be on the boxing broadcast. Does Barry Michael get to do the halftime show at AFL opening round? Does Jeff Fennick get to go on the preliminary final pre-game show for the NRL next year? Like, why are they allowed? Why are players from other sports allowed to come into boxing, but no boxers who have finished their careers and might be looking for a little bit of extra money because all this knowledge they've built up is just being not being shared? You know, the people who are in a position to benefit from it financially and also educate the audience, us watching, they don't get given these opportunities. How does that make any sense? And this Pete Badel, like, all right, man, I don't want to. I'm not getting personal on these guys. I just don't think they belong on this type of platform in this sport, especially. Like, he's a rugby guy. I'd never heard of Pete Badel, and I'm sure he's a lovely bloke. I've got nothing against the guy personally. And you know, hey, if someone puts some money in front of you and gives you an opportunity, who are you to, you know, who would I be to tell you not to do it? But I mean, surely you say to yourself, you know, no, this is a position that should be for retired fighters, trainers. Like if you want a media member on a boxing broadcast desk, which the whole desk thing annoys me as well. If you want a boxing media member on there, Brendan Bradford's right there. He's already at the show. He's been covering this for years. He's been in the gyms. He knows what he's talking about. He has respect for the sport. Give him that opportunity. Why are you getting some rugby guy? It doesn't make any sense. God. And then we had that. Who did he take? Oh, God. Who did he take over from? Badel. Who bloody... I don't know these rugby players, rugby journos names, guys, but mate, the Tree Boy. Remember Tree Boy? The guy that got thrown into a tree head first after he called someone a dog head. Oh, God, man. I got to watch that clip again. That's so funny. Man, shout out to... Oh, no, I shouldn't say who. We were sending some really funny texts back and forth when Tree Boy was literally upside down head first in a gutter. He hit the tree, flipped around, and slid down the tree head first into a gutter. Oh, what an idiot. Oh, God. Badel's a step up from that guy. I'll give him that. But still, get out of here. We don't want these guys. We want Barry Michael. We want Jade Mitchell. We want, and maybe that's too Victorian, whatever. Pick a retired fighter who has broadcast experience and put them in there. Or guess what? Give them some broadcast experience. Build some on-air talent from the ground up. Because, mate, these rugby blokes and these footy players, for that matter, like, give me a break. We don't want to see it. It's a joke. It's embarrassing. So, guys, that's my rant there. All in all, intriguing card. I enjoyed it. But just to finish off, guys, we are going super long on this. I apologize. I do love a chat. This morning, very early this morning, it started at about 5 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So 4 a.m. in the non-daylight savings observing states. Dylan BIGGS was in the WBC Grand Prix middleweight final. It's been a busy year for Dylan BIGGS. It was a 32-man bracket. He won all his fights against Southpaws, all 4 Southpaws, by unanimous decision over in Saudi Arabia. Today there was 4 weight classes: heavyweight, featherweight, super lightweight, and middleweight. And today was the 4 finals, which was awesome. Now, all the preliminary, I don't know if many people have watched this. It was so much fun. I watched most of the middleweight stuff, especially all Dylan's fights, saw all Pomerlau's fights. Sorry, I should have mentioned Dylan BIGGS fought Derek Pomerlau from Montreal, Canada, in the final today. A dangerous guy, but this tournament was fantastic, guys. I mean, I spoke about it to the legend. Shout out to the Aussie boxing scribe, Anthony Cox, aka Tony Cupcakes, before this fight, before this tournament had started. And I said to him, I thought it seemed like a great opportunity. And Coxie said, yeah, absolutely it is. But, unless you win this thing, you're not going to get the value, the full value from it, sort of career defining moving forward. I was like, wow, that's so interesting. Well, Dylan just effed around and won the whole goddamn thing against another southpaw in the final. He fought 5 southpaws and beat them all. It was unbelievable. Today was by far his most impressive performance. It is actually free. If you don't have DAZN, it is free on YouTube. It was streamed on YouTube. I believe they're leaving the whole tournament up, so you can easily find that link out there for free to watch Dylan. He was the main event. He was the 4th fight. But watching Pomerlau, I thought this was going to be an absolute barn burner of a fight, and it didn't really work out that way because Pomerlau's aggressive, man, and he doesn't die wondering. He's a bit crude, sort of not as much in the vein of Callum Peters. He's more polished, 15-0. I think 11 knockouts coming in. I would have to double check that. But Pomerlau does not die wondering. He moves forward, he puts his head down, and he throws that left hand, absolutely. And he's not going to be a fighter that's going to be put in his shell, that gets a little gun shy, those type of things. He's going to be putting it on you. So I was expecting Dylan, as he's always starts really well, but by the mid-round, sort of we're in a war, and down the stretch, we're just in a firefight. Anything could happen. I thought it was a 50-50 fight. Well, bloody hell, man. Dylan Biggs went out there and put in his best performance to date. I thought it was easily 7-1, at best 6-2. There's even a case he won every round, to be totally honest. I'd have to watch it back. It was on pretty early in the morning, but a very comfortable winner. He knocked Pomerlau down within the first 30 seconds with a jab. I mean, Pomerlau was not hurt at all. He was just off balance, but it was a punch to the head and he fell down. So that's a 10-8 round right there. So he was having to chase himself, very early. He found himself in a hole very early, but my God, Dylan Biggs. And this is such a credit to him personally, and a credit to his team and his coach and whoever else was involved with getting Dylan prepared for this fight. He was so sharp early. He was so focused, so prepared, not only just tactically and physically, but like mentally. It was unbelievable. He was so switched on from the jump. We always hear fighters talking about trying to peak on fight night. You don't want to peak a week before. You don't want to peak 2 weeks before. You want to peak on fight night. And man, to my eye, they got that timing down perfectly. This was Dylan's, by far his best performance. Now, how did he do it? Well, what I noticed, guys, and we see it a lot with front charging, power punching southpaws, right? Guys turn them and they keep them moving so they can't get set. And Dylan certainly did that, but he did it both ways. And he didn't turn guys at 90 degrees. He just took little angles every time, just slight little angles. He didn't overuse the right hand. He didn't overuse the jab. I thought his punch variation was great. He was slipping the southpaw jab and throwing the right uppercut. On the inside, he was slipping and throwing the left uppercut. I mean, he was so well prepared and dialed in. But the thing was, too, a lot of times when guys turn and change angles, like we were speaking about, they take like that 90 degrees, and then it's almost a time for them, or it looks like to me, where they go, okay, I've got a couple of seconds breather here. We reset. You wait for the southpaw to regain the angle, rinse and repeat. Dylan didn't do that. Dylan took much shorter angles, and every time he took an angle, he punched off it, and it was almost like he was beating Pomerlau to the punch every time. He was initiating the action every time from these small angles both ways. It was really an excellent performance by Dylan. But on the downside, I think that took a lot of energy, a lot of mental energy, and a lot of physical stamina out of him. He was well and truly in front. I thought the 4th round was close. I thought Dylan still won it. And I think the 6th round was the one I would have given to Pomerlau. I think. I could be wrong on that. But by the 6th round, Dylan was a lot more stationary. It's all well and good to take those small angles and keep the guy turning, but man, you got to move your body so quick. And it's not like you're just stepping around like you're walking down the street grabbing the paper. You're jolting your entire body to a position and then firing back, putting your weight behind punches. That takes it out of you. It's physically taxing. And I think by about the 6th round, Dylan was starting to show the effects of that, and he started fighting on the inside. And we knew Pomerlau was tough, and we knew he was not going to take no for an answer. And Pomerlau was winning those inside exchanges for, or they're probably 50-50, maybe 60-40 Pomerlau on those inside exchanges when Dylan didn't stop moving his feet and just slowed down that little bit. But 7 and 8, he corrected a lot better, maybe got that second wind and started changing those angles. And when Dylan was moving and firing off those angles, Pomerlau couldn't touch him. It was a really, really brilliant performance, really mature performance from Dylan Biggs. I know a lot of the commentary team had picked Pomerlau to win. And just a shout out to another mate of the show, mate of the pod, Corey Erdman, was the lead play-by-play commentator for this entire tournament, and he did an absolutely phenomenal job tournament-wide over all the weight classes, and he always does. He's the best in the game, but especially today in the finals, and also, obviously, I'm biased for Dylan Biggs and Derek Pomerlau. I thought he did an absolutely fantastic job, and I believe we will be hearing from Corey Erdman on commentary on a pretty big show before the year is done. I will say that. Hopefully, fingers crossed, but I think we might. But congratulations to Dylan Biggs. Massive, massive win. 5 fights in a year, all overseas against international competition. Man, what an experience. Can't wait to see what he does next. Does he get opportunities overseas now? This could really be a way that he's built his name and his profile overseas. There may be opportunities that arise there. I mean, if he comes back home, there's big fights here at middleweight. What happens with Nikita and Zarafa? If Zarafa wins, is there a fight there with Dylan Biggs? If Nikita wins, is there a rematch? I don't know. Or maybe Dylan just wants to go his own path and explore international opportunities, I'm sure he's going to have some promoters knocking on his door from here. We'll see how we go. But, congratulations to Dylan. What a way to bounce back after a few years ago with that loss to Nikita. Upper weight class. Never looked better. He's 23 years old. The sky's the limit. Congratulations to Dylan Biggs. But, guys, I thought in my head I'd try and do about 15, maybe 20 max on these hitouts because I always find it difficult to do these solo ones. I'm just looking now. We're at like 36 minutes. So I bloody crapped on a lot more than I thought I would, so I apologize. And I've still got stuff here we can talk about. But guys, thanks for listening. I'll keep it short-ish, this outro, finish it up now. So the plan next year, guys, will be... Well, you know what? I'll pull the curtain back a little bit. What I like to do, I always like to do a pod in between two big shows. So next year, just looking at the schedule, on January 16th, we've got the Nikita Tszyu Michael Zarafa fight. And then at the end of January, we got Shakur and Tszyu. So, I don't know. I haven't made any plans. And December and January are historically the hardest times of the year to lock people down, which is understandably so. Totally get it. Not an issue at all. But I reckon we might go before January 16. Guest dependent, obviously availability-wise. But I reckon maybe in between. So we're reviewing Zarafa Tszyu and previewing Tszyu Shakur. I reckon that could be the go. But we'll see how we go, guys. Best laid plans, hey, especially on this pod. You know what happens every time I try to make a bloody plan here. But, guys, thanks very much for listening this year. Definitely planning on having a way bigger year on the pod than we did this year. Enjoy the holidays, guys. Enjoy the fights. We got Kazuto Ioka on New Year's Eve. We got Naoya Inoue coming up on the 27th with Junto Nakatani on the undercard, with Kenshiro Taraji on the undercard, and respectfully their opponents who I can't remember at the moment, but that's going to be an absolute banger. Also, maybe one of our old mates on commentary for that show. Maybe I'm just putting it out there. We'll see how we go. But guys, enjoy the fights as always. Have a great Christmas, and I'll chat to you as early next year.
Well, let's travel, may add up the change. Living like there's no tomorrow, then tomorrow came.
Going all out.
I was living like there's no tomorrow, then tomorrow came. I got the wake-up call, laughing through the window frame.